But I think what I really pride myself on is I watch who I hire for the most part. And what I mean by that is a lot of barbershops try to fill chairs because it makes them more money.
Business is business, take it back to the basics. Multi-million cash, the feeling's amazing. Got a Porsche inside my stable, don't horse with me, baby. 20 plus in my field, I'm like Coke with the Lakers. It's like I'm touring the Sprinter, doing these road trips 3 days. Close for more M's, I stay on it. When you step on the premise, just know I own this. Collaborate inside of my district, this for the owners. Look, I'm doing the pun, it's the true 101. How I conduct business, you just might learn.
What's going on, everybody? We're back with another banging episode of the Collab District Podcast. I got another young entrepreneur from Ventura County with me. I got Mr. Austin Jack. I'll let him pronounce his last name. Owner of Rebel Souls Barbershop. Man, welcome to the show.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for having me on.
So, Austin, I do this show in hopes to inspire other people and also tell the stories of just some great entrepreneurs that we have in Ventura County. So I'll start off by, asking, where you're from, where you grew up, your background, kind of like your family history, because I believe that all that plays into who we become today and like what inspires us to be entrepreneurs. So, tell me a little bit about your backstory, where you're from, where you grew up, if there's any religious implications that, or family in your family life.
So I'm born and raised in Camarillo. I never left Ventura County. I've been here my whole life. Went to high school here, a couple different high schools here. As far as religiously, I'm a believer. I've never been a big church goer, but I definitely know there's a higher power with me. I graduated in 2012-ish, and I started my barbershop in 2020, became a barber in 2015. And in between, I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more of that backstory, but I was a little bit of a knucklehead back then.
Okay.
And I got in some trouble, and that really made me find my side of life.
Okay.
I was away there for a little bit when I turned 18. So.
And your family, did you grow up with like single household, two parents? You have brothers and sisters?
Okay, so I grew up with my mom and my stepdad.
Okay.
My stepdad's been around since I was about 5 years old, so it's basically a father figure,
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm an only child.
Okay.
So that's a fun one, bro. They're all focused on you. So.
Yeah. I was only child for 10 years, so I get it.
Okay,
I get
absolutely.
it. You get a lot of attention.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, they're focused on what you're doing and what you're doing only, So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you said you bounced around a couple high schools. Was that like Camarillo? Then you said you got in some trouble, so I know you probably hit the Frontier High School, right?
So I hit Gateway.
Right across the street, okay.
So I went to Camarillo High School. They didn't want me there after a few months. They did their thing, expelled me. Okay. And I went to Gateway for a bit, and then I went back to Rio Mesa. I was just a troubled teen, man. So Rio Mesa didn't end up well either. Mm-hmm. And then went back to Gateway, and then I ended up going to Ace Charter High School after that. In my junior year, it was a brand new high school. And I graduated from there with a 3.8 grade point average, got my stuff together, and yeah, it was a good time, man.
What did your parents do for a living growing up?
My mom worked for a company called Scully Leather Company. It's been around since 1906. Bunch of Western wear. Have you ever seen the movie Tombstone?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's an old school movie, but it's like super, those long overcoats and everything, and the old school revolver pistols and all that stuff. It's all like that kind of stuff, man.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, and seeing your mom and your step-pop's work, did that build some type of, like, work ethic in you? Like, I grew up in a single-parent household. My mom raised me, working long hours to, raise me and my sister. And I feel like I got my work ethic from her, from just, like, you just do what you got to do. Like, you don't even really think about it because we have these responsibilities in life. And I feel like I seen her work so hard, and it is still like this work ethic in me early. I started working retail early on, and when you're trying to figure it out, but I always had this work ethic that I feel like was instilled from my mom.
Yeah, I'd say after I got out of my kind of troubled years, for sure, I started to find my work ethic through my parents. It's always been noticed since I was a kid. You know, both my stepdad worked agriculture, so he was up early mornings, taking off all the time. My mom was up early mornings, even though she didn't have to be. And they worked their ass off.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah.
I mean, if you want stuff done, you got to do that, and that's what I was taught. So.
And you spoke about, and you don't have to really get into the specifics, but you spoke a couple of times about being a troubled teen. Yeah. Do you feel like it was you, or were you, because I tell my kids all the time, those who follow the crowd get lost in it, and you become your environment.
Yeah.
So was it the environment pulling you in that direction, or were you like the leader of the pack of the badasses? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It kind of goes down to exactly like you said. To put it in another way that relates to this is they say all the time, like, if you're hanging around a barbershop long enough, you're bound to get your hair cut, bro. You know? So that's kind of what happened. I started hanging around the skate parks. I was a skateboarder, like super big skateboarder when I was younger.
Okay.
And most skate parks around the area, but that's where you see people starting to smoke weed and,
hang out, experiment with this. And yeah.
So I gravitated towards that crowd a little bit when I was younger, and just being a little rebel.
And did something happen that was a turning point for you that, like, because usually, like you say, we're headed down a path and we hit a wall, and we can either choose to pivot and change, or we can just keep hitting that wall, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes, and this happened for myself, I've hit that wall a couple times before I finally said, damn, my head hurts, man, I better pivot. So was there like a occurrence or something that happened that you said, oh, you know what, let me straighten up. I got a little bit more talent in me, or there's more out of life than just, being a knucklehead all the time and, causing my mom and my stepdad, I'm probably sure, heartaches, wondering where you're at, and being an only child and, being having relationships with your parents, like, you don't want to let them down, right? It's not intentional, but it's like you're just caught up in the shit. So, so was there a occurrence that pivoted you into, getting a 3.8 GPA and kind of like tightening down and doing things, making better choices and decisions?
Yeah. So, man, my parents they raised me so well, man. Everything I did was upon me going out wanting to do that. Never had bad parenting growing up. So when I got into my senior year of high school, they told me I was about 60 credits behind, which is a lot of credits to be behind.
Yeah.
And I guess my mom, I don't remember, but I guess my mom said that I started crying in the office. She's like, well, crying is a good sign. That means you care.
Yeah.
So I guess you better shape up, So after I graduated, things were going good. I was going into the Navy. I was trying to get into the Navy.
Oh, okay.
But I had a little bit of a record before I was 18. So
that didn't work out.
Some things came out, and it didn't work out. And shortly after that, I chose to go back down that road, and that was the occurrence that changed my life. My mom had always said, once you're 18, when the law gets their hands on you,
it's
there's
different.
nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I can't save you there.
Yeah. So, I got in a big amount of trouble. Went away for a couple of years, and I came out, and that's what started my barbering career. Actually, was that. Yeah.
There's something about when your freedom is taken away, and then you get it back. You look at things differently, right? Like everything isn't just like, oh, I can get out of that, or it's like, wait a second, I've been there. I had to go do some time for a minute.
Yeah.
And when you're in that box, there's nothing else that you can think about but all the shit that you want to be doing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so it's I have my experiences. I've gotten into my fair share of trouble as well. Maybe not to the extent, but I can relate to like, absolutely, what am I doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing in here? And like, why am I in here? And like, this isn't me, you know? And so you say you graduated in 2012 and you started barbering in 2015 and you went to school. Like, for me growing up, me and my cousins, like, we always cut each other's hair and like we fuck each other's hairline up and just, you know, like push it way back. And it's like, you messed me up. And, but that's where like, you know, that stuff happens. Were you interested in barbering, you know, before you started school? Were you like the homie that cut everybody up, you know, at the house or coming in the garage or you know, where did that passion come from? Because I look at barbering, especially now, as a form of art. What you guys do is a form of art, and it plays into the self-confidence of someone. After I get a haircut, like I feel good, you know, I look good, I feel good, and I think there is a mental aspect of you know self-care and like grooming yourself. So where did that come from? The interest in barbering.
So it came kind of randomly, honestly. So when I got out in 2015, that all happened in 2013. Got out in 2015. I needed a sense of direction, man. I didn't know where I wanted to go, but I knew I needed to start something because I didn't want to go back to where I was, you know?
Yeah.
So my mom had done hair for a while out in Encino and everything back in the day. And she told me, well, why don't you think about doing hair? I'm like, yeah, I'll do women's hair. She's like, nah.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about.
You're going to put yourself in a lot of trouble with those girls, man. So I started barbering, started barber school. I signed up, and I honestly didn't know how I was going to feel about it. I didn't know how I was going to like it or anything. But I fell in love with it first day, man. I really can't stress that.
Like that love at first sight type of thing?
Yeah. And a lot of people ask me, like, why, you know? And I'd say the biggest part of it was walking through the school and seeing you can be anybody you want to be in that business. You can be slung down on your throat with tattoos and make great money, or you can be dressed up in a suit and work in that shop and have that kind of vibe. No matter who you are, you can make money in that business, and people will gravitate towards you, and you'll pull your own type of people as your clients. Yeah, you know. So it was really cool to be able to do that. And
did you also work before you started Rebel Souls? Did you work at other shops, or did you just go right into entrepreneurship and starting your own business and taking that risk?
So shout out Josh Gates, man. So Josh Gates owns a barbershop called 1927 Barbershop.
Okay,
in Ventura.
Yep.
And great dude. He gave me the opportunity. I was the only person he hired fresh out of school. And he's like, I don't do that normally, you know, because you need some time behind a chair to learn how to cut hair. But he gave me the opportunity to work at his brand new shop in Camarillo when it opened in 2015 or no, 2016.
Okay, so you took about a year to go to school then.
Yeah, so he gave me that opportunity. And within about 4 years of working there was when I bought that shop, actually. Okay. So I used that time in between to kind of, you know, well, obviously make money, but build relationships with people.
Build your clientele.
Yeah, and see where I wanted to go in life as far as opening up a shop or staying behind the chair. Everybody talks about wanting to open, but it's not in everybody, and that's fine, you know? Yeah. But, you know, it's not for everybody for sure.
And, you know, what was that decision process like? Because when you said, did I want to decide to stay behind the chair or own the business? You know, that decision to take that risk is different for everyone, you know, because you're basically leaving your security, you know, and you're taking on a bigger risk. Yeah. And that has to be a decision, and that decision is different for everyone, but there's always that decision that you have to make that's a tough one to say, I'm going to take this risk. I think I got it in me. Like, what was that decision-making process for you, working, gaining that experience for 4 years, and then, you know, making that decision to approach, you know, Josh with, hey, man, I think I would like to buy your shop.
Yeah. So kind of going back to what you said earlier is your environment around you, man. And I put myself around people that believed in me. And when the opportunity came up, I was super scared. It came up in 2020, so obviously we know what was going on with that.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about that too.
Yeah, so COVID happened. I believe that was, you know, part of the reason that Josh had to look into selling the shop, you know. But we had talked about it, and I was like, I'd love to take the opportunity to at least talk to you about getting it. So he agreed. He's like, that's a good option. We'll look into it, you know. I needed to learn how to appraise a business because it was obviously an already built business, you know, but I didn't want to keep his name. I wanted it to be mine if it was going to be mine and things like that. So it was a learning process, but I think really what it comes down to is just having people behind me that anything I was confused about, I'd go to them. I'd go to my friend that owns, you know, these restaurants and bars, and I'm like, all right, how do you appraise businesses? Do this. And put yourself around good people, they're going to teach you how to do good things.
That's true.
So, yeah, they really pushed me to be where I was at. I finally made that decision. Super funny, man. My parents, they're, you know, single child, so they were only focused on you, like I said. They were pretty nervous about me
starting a business, yeah.
And I knew that it was gonna be an issue, so I didn't tell them. So on my 26th birthday, I went up to them and I told them, I was like, you know, I have two things to tell you. I was just only out for, you know, a couple of years too, so I was just barely making my money. So I was like, by the way, I'm moving out in 2 days.
Okay.
And I bought the barbershop and I work at. So you can imagine the nervousness on their face, bro.
Yeah.
You know? So.
I have a similar story. Like, you know, I started my construction business in Florida. My construction business is third generation. And I always felt like I have to be here. Like, this is home. California. I'm a Cali boy, man. This weather, the sunshine, like, you know, like, I'm from here. So when I wanted to move back, my uncle helped me and my mother helped me with my business. I was working for him, and I told him I was moving back. And like your parents, they were very nervous, and they were like, "No, this and all the what ifs," and you know, something, you know, my higher being told me, like, you can't let their fears be your fears.
Yeah,
you know, they have their fears, and that's rightfully so. But like, if you're ready, take the risk, you know, but it's hard to do that because these are your loved ones, right? You know, they want the best for you, and so like that self-doubt like sits in, and they don't mean to do that, but they're just worried. So it was like, I can relate to that story of, you know, the people that you love the most and that's been your biggest supporters, you know, having that nervousness, but you can't let other people's fears be your fears when you're starting and taking that risk. So you buy it in 1927. And in 2015-ish, right?
I bought 1927 in 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
And before I ask about COVID, what is the name behind Rebel Souls? Where did the name come from?
So it was kind of an ode to my past that I talked about.
Okay.
You know, I've always kind of been a little bit of a rebel. I'm definitely a little more reformed now for sure. But I guess I don't regret anything that I went through because it made me the man I am today, and it taught me a lot about, oh man, that place will teach you a lot, man. And you either choose to keep going back or you choose to get out of it and be smart. And it was just an ode to that and learning those things in life. It taught me respect. It taught me what seeing the bottom is like, you know, and not wanting to go there again. That's pretty much where it came from.
It's just a shout out to your past, like not to forget, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's got a little rebel in them, bro.
Yeah, know? That's a fact. That's a fact. And so you started business in 2020 that's very personable and that's being affected by COVID. I had the idea about the Collab District around the same time.
Okay, nice.
And when I got this building, I never, you know, for what I do on a day-to-day, which is construction, I didn't need a building this size, right?
Yeah.
And then COVID happens, and I'm like, oh shit, I fucked up. Like, no one's gonna co-work. Like, who's gonna like work next to a stranger?
Yeah.
You know, like, and so it was like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? And so I want to hear the story of you buy a barbershop in 2020, but you can't even open. You can't cut hair, like. And I know I have other friends that are barbershop, you know, shout out Icon, Rhea, my boy Hollow out there.
Oh, yeah, he's cool. Yeah,
and I was amazed by what everyone was doing in different industries to navigate through COVID because they were saying that barbershops weren't essential. Yeah. And they were coming in and I felt like barbershops were targeted to where they were enforcing the COVID. Like they're driving around, making sure people aren't in there getting haircuts and cutting. And I know, you know, people had to get creative to get to to run their barber business. But I think also what got lost is a lot of individual barbers just became their own independent contractors because hell, I'm cutting from home. Like, why am I going to go pay this booth rent when my clients are coming to me or I'm going to them and I can charge a little bit more? So like, I want to hear that story of like, you bought a business in 2020 that, you know, basically was being told you got to shut down till before you even get started probably. And, you know, like how that affected you and then how you know, navigated through that.
So 2020 happened. I was just, or when COVID happened, I was working at the shop. That happened, and we shut down in about March, I believe, March 2020.
That's about right.
And at that time, I was making good money, so I just bought my truck in cash like 2 weeks before, bro. And then we got shut down, and I can't work, and I'm freaking out, you know. So,
yeah, good thing you didn't have a car payment then, though.
Yeah, exactly. And then what happened after that? So then we're not getting any 1099 help from the government yet right away because they were trying to figure that out. So now I got no money coming in, and I dropped pretty much everything I got. Well, then 3 months later, we were able to open back up. It's 1927. And I think about 6 weeks of cutting hair. Like a few of the barbers that came back to 1927, they ended up not wanting to cut hair for their own reasons and, you know, doing different things, whatever. But that gave me the opportunity to be the only dude back at the shop cutting hair and pulling a gang of clientele, bro, you know? So I just stuck it through. I was booked out 2 weeks straight for, you know, as long as I could go. And then they tried to shut us back down the second time.
Yeah, and the surge happened during the winter.
Yes.
Yeah, like October, November, December, there was a surge and everything kind of like got shut back down again.
Yes, and I bought it early November. So, yeah, right as I bought it, they shut us back down. The surge happened, they shut us back down. But for those, like, few weeks that I was cutting hair beforehand, I mean, those first 3 months of COVID, I was with my mom with the pad and, you know, hanging out with friends. I'm playing video games. I'm not doing nothing, bro. Like, I'm not doing anything productive, you know. So I was like, I can't go back to that. There's no way I can go back to that. It's not good for my mental health. It's not good for anything. You know? So we covered up the windows with Christmas wrapping paper because it was the holidays, you know. And I
locked the doors?
Yeah, locked the doors. I was only taking clients that would call and
appointments and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, you know, you called the barbershop. Like, who do you normally go with? And if they didn't have a name that they normally go with, I'm like, you've never been here. So I'm like, oh, we're just cleaning right now. See you later. So
to screen your appointments.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, the little good old secret knock kind of stuff on the door. And all that. But
figure it out, right? It made you have to figure it out, right? Because you were already in it, right?
Yeah.
And so, because I feel the same way, like there's a lot of businesses, unfortunately, that didn't survive through COVID, you know? Yeah. And I feel that navigating through it, I know it made me a better entrepreneur and business person because you know, in construction, we were deemed essential, and you had to go. Yeah. But I had people getting sick, and at the time, you know, get COVID, there was like a fear of death, right? Yeah. That's how the media made it. That's how I know the media made me feel. And so it was like, you guys are telling me to go, but I got guys getting sick. Like I didn't feel right, you know, sending guys out to work with the potential of being sick, and then they got families too. So like I feel that navigating through COVID, managing through COVID and all the restrictions made me a better entrepreneur because I feel like, well, hell, I survived a pandemic, right? Yeah. Like, and I was able to keep my doors open, and that's a win in itself, you know? Yeah. So now you have Rebel Souls, you know, me growing up and, you know, going to barbershops, you know, I've had some of the best conversations in barbershops. You hear the most ludicrous shit, sports debates, all that, you know, and that's more the barbershop. What's the vibe when I walk into Rebel Souls? You know, what's the vibe when you walk in and to get a cut, you know, at your spot?
So I'd say Well, first of all, when you walk in, we got tattoo art on the walls, a bunch of signed skateboards. I'm a big skateboarder. Normally, we got skateboard videos playing on the TV, snowboard videos, a lot of action sports stuff, maybe even drifting car videos, all this stuff. But I think what I really pride myself on is I watch who I hire for the most part. And what I mean by that is a lot of barbershops try to fill chairs because it makes them more money.
Yeah, booth rent, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm trying to fill chairs too, but I'm a little more selective with who I have work there based on how they get along with the rest of the barbershop. Because when you're in a barbershop, bro, and barbers got tension, everybody feels it. Like nobody's saying it, but everybody can see it.
That's any business.
Yeah.
That's any business. I just had this conversation.
Yeah, so it's I try to pick people I kind of know are gonna vibe. Cutting hair better can be taught, So I'll put somebody in that maybe needs a little bit of work, and I'll tell them, hey, like in 3 months, I want you to cut like this person right here. I want you to cut like me, and during your off time, I want to see you standing by my chair taking notes or whatever it may be. And then in 3 months, we'll figure out if you still got your job,
Yeah.
But it's better to do it that way, in my opinion. Just because I feel like you keep barbers longer by giving them that respect and teaching them something and trying to get them to better themselves. And maybe you'll keep them until they open up their own shop, and some barbers get upset about that too. I want everybody to grow, bro. I might not want you to open up next to me, but I want everybody to grow.
So you're teaching them to grow, and I'm the same way. Like I want to see people grow too, and to be the best, because if I'm, teaching you what I know, because like you said, you're building a team. You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yeah. And
it sounds like you're taking the time. And you'll take the risk on someone that may not be as talented yet, but they fit the team.
Absolutely.
They're going to fit the team. And I think I commend you on that because barbershops do have a lot of high turnover, in their chairs. So it's hard to, barber relationship is personal, right? You have conversations with your barber and, you come in there and like I said, it's just a different vibe. Like it's hard to explain, but I know the environment when you walk into a shop and it has a good vibe. And, you walk in there, yes, you got a haircut and you got clean, but you walk out of there feeling like you got an experience and had a good conversation. Yeah. And it sounds like that's what you're building and have built at Rebel Souls.
Absolutely. I try to make sure that everybody's greeted when they walk in the door. It's the little things, man.
Yeah.
You want to hear people. I mean, it's the best because it's a 4-chair shop. It's not big, so we're all hearing each other's conversation.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times everybody's getting involved in it. So this shop is getting loud, bro. Like everybody's BS and laughing, maybe having their own conversations or hopping in over here. And just the barbershop environment is so cool. And, you leave with the fresh haircut, you're already guaranteed to feel happy,
Yeah. Yeah. When you build an environment like that, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Right? You're coming in to do what you're talented to do or what you love to do, and it doesn't feel like, damn, man, I got to go to work today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't, I've had jobs and I have employees, and it's one of those things where it's like you feel when an employee's in there collecting a check, and you feel when an employee's in there like, man, I'm part of this team. I'm part of something. You know what I mean? And so building a team is very hard to do, but it's very necessary to build the right team, because if you don't have the right team, you can't go to the places you probably want to go.
Yeah.
Besides COVID, navigating through the challenges of the COVID, and not having, either, like for me, I had family that was in business. Your parents, weren't entrepreneurs. Like, what other hurdles did you have to overcome, being new to business, whether it's like understanding finances and taxes or, like what are some of the other obstacles that you've had to, or challenges that you've had to overcome, running your own shop?
I'd say that, the finances and taxes and things like that were definitely something that was a learning curve. That one was a little rough at first.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also easily learnable, different licensing and things like that. I needed to learn about all that, which was another interesting thing, man. Man, yeah, that one was rough.
That takes you back.
Yeah, that was taking me back to some stressed out times. But other than that, bro, I'd say the biggest thing barbershop wise that you learn to deal with is people.
People.
Yeah, man, that's. Whew.
It's hard dealing with people, right?
You get some characters sometimes, bro. Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's you're dealing with, like, when you're a leader, you're dealing with humans.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone's not going to come in every day and just be on their best, right?
Yeah.
They're not. But that's what you need, and that's what your client expect. But if you have that understanding, like I always tell people, like, when you become a business owner, you have a team, you're almost like a de facto therapist, right? Like you turn into like a therapist, but I'm not qualified to be a therapist, but you got to like be, you got to be aware that they're humans and they go through things too. And like sometimes they may bring their shit in, and it's for you to be like, hey man, what's going on? And try to redirect their energy to serve the client. So like, I agree with you. One of the most hardest thing in business is like managing people. Cause like marketing, taxes, like I said, all that's learnable.
Yeah.
But managing people is like, it's just a whole different beast,
It's an ever-changing thing, man. For real. Everybody's different.
So have you had the opportunity to cut any famous or celebrities, what are some of one of the coolest stories that you can share, or one of the most famous people that you can share?
Oh man, honestly, it's not a ton of it's like background famous people, kind of like different companies you think of. They're like, oh, you're the head of that, bro. I never see your face on TV or nothing, but I got a friend of mine who owns this company, Blackwater BLK Water. I've cut his hair quite a few times. I go to his house out in Hidden Hills and stuff. Also got shout out Law by Mike on TikTok, man. There's a few million people follow that dude. I cut his hair as well. Like Jason Kelsey came in the shop before from the Eagles.
Yeah, nice.
Connor Barwin was coming in the shop from Rams. Like I said, I got another dude that just started coming to me that was in one of the first X Games ever as a rollerblader, which I don't even think I've seen rollerblading since,
They just had it here in Ventura, right?
Yeah, I went to that too. That was amazing.
That was right up your alley, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, pretty much stuff like that.
If you could cut, one person's hair, who would that be?
One person.
Because not just the cut, just for also like the conversation, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a tough one, bro. I would have to say it would probably have to be like Steve Caballero, pro skateboarder, or somebody that was in the mix of starting the whole skateboard culture.
Okay.
Where that came from, how...
Like Tony Hawk?
Yeah, Tony Hawk too, Even the Papas brothers, they were a big thing in skateboarding before, but they didn't... It's kind of funny. That's a longer story. They were better than Tony Hawk, but they were like me when I was a kid, so they never got the poster child.
Yeah, they couldn't go mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. They want the poster child. But yeah, somebody that had a big influence in that kind of lifestyle, I think is really cool. That it started in kind of Venice area. Mm-hmm. Little surfers putting 2x4s on these roller skate wheels on the end and cruising down blocks is an interesting thing, man. So something like that.
Yeah. And what does Austin like to do in his free time? I always, for me as an entrepreneur, I struggle with time management at times, right? Because, we're 24/7 employees. Like, we don't really get off, right? Like, we may, leave the building, but, mentally, we're never really off. But it's good. What I've learned later being in business is your brain's a muscle. It has to rest, right? Yeah. Like, you have to get that rest, or you have to do something to kind of break up just always thinking, and those thoughts can become where you can be obsessive about your business. And that's not healthy to me, and that doesn't work out to me. What do you do to time manage, and what do you like to do as hobbies in your free time? I know you like to skateboard, but what do you like to do in your free time to I need to get my mind off this for a second?
Yeah. I still struggle with time management sometimes, but recently I was working Tuesday through Saturday. Now I take Tuesdays off to work, but business stuff, whether it be getting, paperwork done with things I need to get done, or filling up the shop with products that I need to get filled, whatever it may be. But I kind of get that time to relax a little bit extra, other than my 2 days off. I like to skateboard, obviously, like we talked about, but I'm a Call of Duty advocate too, man. I love to play that game.
Gamer. Yeah. I recently started gaming again.
Okay.
My fiance got me an Xbox for my 40th, and I'm like, I'm about to jump back on the game there. It's just something to like focus on other than work.
Yeah, it's kind of mindless, bro.
Yeah.
I've got ADHD too, dude.
And my stepson, he's a beast at the Call of Duty, man. Like he goes in at it. Yeah. So gaming.
Gaming, and then I'd say, I started training Muay Thai recently.
Okay.
So I'm doing some Muay Thai classes over at Corona Muay Thai. Shout out them too. That's here in Camarillo, over by Flynn. And then I'm just kind of on a mental health kick right now, and a health kick. I'm sober right now. No drinking, no nothing, no sugar. To drop 20 pounds in like 25 days already.
Damn.
Yeah. So just taking care of myself.
Yeah, working on
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as we get older, like quality of life starts to matter, right? I think when you're an entrepreneur, like it's waves, right? Like you start out and you're like, I'm a grind 10 days. I do whatever I got to do, and then like you get to a point where like, I really don't have to do that. I got a team now. Like, my quality of life matters. And, like, I still have that work ethic, but, like, it's just as important to, like, do Muay Thai game, because then when I show back to work, I'm the best version of myself, and I'm not high strung, creating tension and creating the problems, and I can be open to like, growing my business. Because when you're like flustered and shit all the time, like you don't have vision for the future. You know, you barely see what's in front of you.
Yeah, you're trying to handle right now. You can't see what's in the future, bro.
And so I've learned that, and it took me a while to like, hold up, like you got to have hobbies. Like I'll game. I got into playing golf. I'm not good, but we go out there, hit the ball. It's a fun thing, and and I'm more mental health, I guess, call it conscious. Just being aware of like working and doing things that are self-soothing to myself. And it's like, when you're an entrepreneur, that feels selfish sometimes. But it's like it's not, because I'm doing it to become the best version of myself and bring that to my team, because we don't get days off. We don't get to have bad days. Sometimes we got to be that constant, steady leader. What's next for yourself personally and business wise?
Myself personally, I just want to continue with this Muay Thai stuff as far as outside of business. I want to eventually get a first amateur fight. Things like that, just because it really keeps my mental health good. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I'll go to work, I'll get off work, I'll go to Muay Thai, and then I'll get completely humbled by these dudes over there, bro. And I'll leave, and off that feeling of defeat is something I've never sat well with. So I always want to continue to be better. It's good.
So it's helping you work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with the shop right now, I'm looking into opening up a second shop. Not a second shop. I'm going to grow the shop that I have now in a bigger location.
Gotcha.
I was advised not to open up two shops. Man, I heard that gets a little rough, but
it's good to have good mentorship around you, right?
Yeah,
it is, man. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to do what we want to do.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's good to have that voice to say like, well, maybe I think about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you think about relocating then?
Relocating, yeah. Still here in Camarillo, but bigger, and do something with a little more room so I can really focus on what I want the vibe to be, and how I run it and everything. So,
well, man, I always say the most valuable thing in life is time, because that's the one thing in life we don't get back. So I appreciate you sharing your time with me today, sharing your story. I had a great conversation with you. But tell the people where they can find you on your social media, the address to the shop, and the hours, just, and shout out to anybody you want to shout out before we close out.
Oh, thank you very much, brother. You can find me at Rebel Souls _barbershop on Instagram. You can also find a personal one that shows a lot of business stuff on there. It's at my last name, Jacquemin, the Beast. And then, yeah, just shout out everybody in my life, Nate, Sammy, Jeremy, Doug, that helped me out, and appreciate all my friends and clients.
Address to the shop.
Oh, yeah. Address to the shop is 5800 Santa Rosa Road, Suite 131. Yeah, come check us out. Love to take care of you.
All right, that's been another episode of the Collab District Podcast. Thank you, Austin Jacquemin, for stopping by. And if you need to get groomed up, cut up, stop by Rebel Souls out here in Camarillo, California. And we're out.
Thank you.